Hello everyone. In this module, we are going to focus on a very practical use of clean plates in visual effects. So, what exactly is a clean plate? A clean plate is essentially a version of your scene without any actors or objects in it. Think of it as a blank shot of your background, no distractions, no people, nothing moving. It's like pressing reset on the scene, leaving just the environment itself. Now let's say you are shooting a scene and there's something in the shot that you don't want to see later, like a boom mic, a prop, or even an actor who needs to be digitally removed. This is where a clean plate comes in handy. Having that empty version of your scene allows you to use it later in post-production to erase unwanted things from your shot. Sometimes you might not have had the chance to shoot a clean plate, especially in fast-paced productions. So in these cases, you can still create a fake clean plate using the tools in your compositing software. You can clone or paint section of the background to fill in the missing area where the unwanted object was. But having an actual clean plate from the shoot makes things much faster and easier. So in summary, clean plates are an essential tool when you want to remove unwanted elements from a scene. By capturing an empty version of the background, you can seamlessly erase distractions or mistakes from your shot and make the final product look clean and professional.
In this video, we will discuss the Rotopaint node. You can bring up the Rotopaint node by pressing Tab and typing Rotopaint, or you can use the shortcut key P. Now let's look at its settings. Double click on Rotopaint. You will notice that the settings here are very similar to the Roto node, which we have already discussed in detail. Next, let's explore the tools in the Rotopaint node. On the left side, you will see various tools option. The first three tool sets at the top are the same as those in the Roto node, which we have covered earlier. It's important to note that you don't necessarily have to use the Roto node for rotoscoping. You can use the Rotopaint node for the same purpose. Some people prefer using Rotopaint for rotoscoping, but if you are just doing roto work, there's no particular advantage in using Rotopaint over Roto. It's all about personal preference. We have already covered the top tools in module 3, so now let's focus on the painting tools in the lower section. In Rotopaint, the most important tool is the clone tool. If you have used Photoshop, you are probably familiar with the clone tool. Let's first discuss the clone tool and then we will cover the other tools. Once you select the clone tool, you will see a circular cursor. If you press Ctrl and click drag, you can set the source area. On the right side is the paint area, and the left circle with smaller plus icon is the source area. If you press shift and click drag, you can adjust the size of the brush. The smaller plus sign represents the source area, while the larger plus sign shows where you are cloning the source to. If you want to change the position of the cloned area, you can click on this setting icon here and you will get more options. From there, you can adjust the position along the x-axis and y-axis. You can also change the rotation and scale. Additionally, if you want to revert back to the default settings, you can reset from here. As you can see, back again, reset. Now, as I explained earlier, let's go ahead and paint this area. So I will just paint this area. I will press Ctrl to pick the source area, then press Shift to adjust the size, and finally paint it. As you can see, it's really simple, nothing too technical. Just take the source and paint. One important thing to note is that each time you paint, a new clone is created in the properties panel. Every time you click, a new clone is generated. However, if you click and hold while dragging, only one clone will be created, as you can see. Now let's explore some more options here. The first one is opacity, which you probably already understand. When creating a clean plate, you can set the opacity to 1 and paint, but when you need to blend the edges, reduce the opacity and blend the edges smoothly. This ensures the edges merge well. The next option is brush size. You can adjust it by holding shift and dragging it, or you can adjust it by holding shift and dragging it, or you can modify it from here. After that, we have hardness. It's similar. When you are blending a plate, you can lower the hardness for smoother blending. However, if you are drawing something solid, you can increase the hardness for sharper edges. Now that you have understood the clone tool, let's move on to the brush tool. When you right click on it, there are two tools. We will go with the brush tool first. Once selected, you can see the color option here. If you just left click on it, you will notice an eyedropper icon. By pressing Ctrl, you can pick any color. You can see whenever I am pressing Ctrl, it's picking the color, and Ctrl left click to pick the color, and then just left click to start the painting. Once you turn off this icon, it will not work. Like I'm pressing Ctrl and trying to select the color, but as you can see, it's not selecting any color. Additionally, you can select a color from the color wheel as well. Any color from here you can select like this. So that's how you use the brush tool. Rest of the options are same. Similarly, we have the blur tool here, uh, which allows you to blur any area. You can adjust the amount of blur using the opacity here. Like if I just blur it here, I will reduce the opacity to 0.1, let's say, and then if you need to make changes after applying the blur, you can do it in the stroke panel. I will just select the blur and go to the stroke here, and I will increase or reduce the brush size. I can also increase or decrease the hardness here, hard and soft. And if you want to reduce the blur amount, you can reduce it from here and increase it from here. Effect. Next is the sharpen tool. Sharpen, which you know is used to make blurry area sharp. As you can see, you already know how sharpening works. Just apply it to any blurry part you want to clarify. After that, we have the smear tool. This tool lets you drag or stretch pixels to blend them in the direction you want. As you can see, finally, in the last, we have dodge and burn tool. Dodge tool is used to brighten areas as you paint over them, while the burn tool helps to darken it. Just be cautious with the burn tool. Keep its opacity to very low, let's say 0.01, and then use it. Now you can see it's working better. Otherwise, it will turn everything into black. Now I will just delete all these tools. Now that you understand the basic tools, let me explain some small but important things. First, whenever we use any tool, let's just say I'm using a brush tool, just increase the size here. By default, it is set to single mode. This means whatever we paint or draw will only appear on the current frame and not on all the frames. As you can see, it's only on frame number 1. we saw this option in the roto node also, so it works the same here. You can see it from here also, live option. All the options are same here. Lock option, visible option, motion blur option. Now we take a closer look at the Rotopaint node. You will first see a BG pipe here, and on the right side you will see a mask input, and on the left side you will see BG1 option. Now let's understand when and how these things work. First, I will create a dot node and connect the BG1 to the footage. For now, we don't see any difference. So let's see how this works. I will start by selecting the clone tool. You will notice an FG option in the top is visible now, and inside that we can see option for BG1, BG2 and BG3. Now in FG option, whatever you see on the screen is where you will be working. I'll paint a small area here. So if I increase the size, FG option is selected. I will clone it here. I have created this clone by using the FG option. Next, I will select BG and then clone again. This is the BG. This is the clone with BG option, and the last I will select the BG1 and then clone it up. Now I have painted 3 different areas. Now I will take a blur node and connect it to the BG1. So just blur and connect. When I make changes in the blur node, it will only affect the painted area in the BG1, as you can see. But if I connect the blur node in the BG, you can see that the entire scene becomes blurred except the painted area from BG1. This is the advantage of BG1. For example, if you have cloned something and you only want to make changes to that clone, you can use BG1 to make specific changes. But if you had cloned in BG, making changes would not have been possible. In the Rotopaint node, you get 3 options for BG. If I just make it here, you can see BG2 option. You can connect, if I just press dot BG2 and BG3. And you can change it from here. Using these 3 options can easily paint and adjust specific areas. So now you understand the difference between BG and BG1. Let me just delete this. Let's now look at the difference between BG and FG. Right now they seem to work the same, as you can see. So what's the difference? FG means that whatever you have painted is considered final. Any further work will be done on top of that FG paint. So if I just delete these clones and select FG, and if I make a clone here, now if I select BG here and then try to clone it, like then try to clone it from here, you will see it's not taking source from this clone, this painted area. It's taking the clone from the actual BG area here, as you can see. And if I select it to FG, you can see the uh, you can see that the Rotopaint is taking the source from our FG, which is the painted thing here. So this is the difference between FG and BG. Now let's look at the mask option. In the mask, we basically connect an alpha. I will take a roto node and draw a shape over the painted area. So I just create a rectangle here. As soon as I connect the mask to this roto, you will see that the paint work is visible only inside the mask area. This is how you can use a mask to limit the visible part of your work. You can see only